When we talk about achieving clear, healthy, glowing skin, we have to start with the foundation, understanding why deep cleansing matters in the first place. Most people focus on products, creams, serums, fancy devices, but the truth is even the best formulas can't do their job if your pores are congested. Throughout the day, your skin collects so much more than you realize: sweat, excess oil, pollution particles, sunscreen residue, and layers of dead skin that don't shed as efficiently as they should. All of this settles on the surface and slowly makes its way deeper into the pores, creating the perfect environment for blackheads, whiteheads, and inflammation to form. And when the pores are blocked, everything else you put on your face is trying to fight its way through a barrier it was never designed to penetrate. Think of deep cleansing as giving your skin a fresh start. It's like hitting the reset button so everything that comes next, your extraction process, your serums, your hydration, can actually work. Without that reset, you're basically putting new products on top of old problems. Skin becomes dull, rough, uneven, and more prone to irritation because the buildup just sits there, blocking light from reflecting evenly and interfering with the skin's natural renewal cycle. When I say deep cleansing, I'm not talking about scrubbing your face aggressively or using harsh tools. I'm talking about a methodical, thoughtful approach that respects the skin barrier while clearing out what doesn't belong there. One of the biggest misconceptions I see is the idea that washing your face once is enough. For most people, especially those who wear makeup, sunscreen, or live in humid or polluted environments, that first cleanse is only removing what's on the surface. The real cleansing happens after. When your skin is properly and gently cleansed, the pores soften, the oil inside them loosens, and the dead skin begins to lift. This is what prepares your face for safe, effective extractions later in the routine. If you skip this step, you're forcing extractions on skin that's tense, tight, and unprepared, which increases the risk of irritation, redness, and even scarring. But deep cleansing isn't just about preparing for extractions. It's about preventing the need for so many extractions in the first place. When the pores stay consistently clear, blackheads don't get the chance to harden, enlarge, or oxidize. You start to notice fewer breakouts, fewer clogged areas around the nose and chin, and a smoother overall texture. The skin becomes more predictable, more balanced, and easier to manage, and that's something people often overlook. The consistency of the routine is what ultimately shapes the consistency of your results. What I want people to understand is that the skin is incredibly smart. It responds to the environment you give it. When you clean it well, gently, not aggressively, it can function the way it's supposed to. Oil production becomes more regulated. Hydration levels stabilize. The complexion looks brighter because fresh, healthy skin cells are reaching the surface instead of being trapped under buildup. Even your pores, which don't technically shrink, appear smaller because they're not stretched by compacted oil and debris. That alone makes the skin look more refined and youthful. Deep cleansing also strengthens your relationship with your skin. When you take those few minutes to remove the day properly, you're paying attention. You start noticing what's changing, what's improving, and what needs support. You can feel when your pores are getting congested before it becomes an issue. You notice when your barrier feels compromised so you can adjust your routine. That awareness is what helps you stay ahead of your skin problems instead of constantly trying to fix them after they've already developed. So when we talk about deep cleansing, we're talking about more than just a step in your routine. We're talking about creating the right conditions for clear, healthy skin to thrive. It's the groundwork that makes everything else more effective, from your extractions to your moisturizers to your treatments. If you want real, lasting clarity, not just a temporary glow, you have to start by giving your skin the clean, prepared canvas it needs. Before we ever get into the deeper steps of cleansing or think about extractions, we need to talk about preparation, because this is the part most people skip, rush through, or underestimate. But preparation is what sets the tone for everything that follows. If the skin isn't softened, if the surface debris isn't loosened, if the pores aren't warmed and relaxed, the entire routine becomes harder, less effective, and more irritating than it needs to be. Proper prep isn't about doing something fancy. It's about creating the right environment for your skin to respond well. The very first part of preparing your skin is removing whatever is sitting on top of it. Makeup, sunscreen, tinted moisturizers, dust, environmental particles, these cling to the skin more than people think. And no matter how good your cleanser is, if it's trying to dissolve all of that in one step, you're not going to get the best results. That's why a proper pre-cleanse matters. Think of it like sweeping the floor before you mop. You're clearing away the obvious layer so the real cleansing can reach what's underneath. A gentle oil-based cleanser or micellar water works beautifully here because these break down stubborn products without stripping the skin. Once you have a clean slate, the next part of preparation focuses on softening. Skin behaves very differently when it's soft and hydrated versus when it's tight or dry. And if you're planning to do any kind of extraction afterward, you absolutely want the skin to be in its softest, most pliable state. Warmth is your best friend here. You don't need anything extreme, no boiling hot towels or steamers blasting your face like a sauna. A simple warm towel, lightly pressed on the skin for a minute or two, is enough to loosen the sebum inside the pores and relax the outer layers. Warmth encourages the skin to open up just enough to make cleansing smoother and extractions far safer. Another part of good preparation is choosing a cleanser that matches your skin's needs. It's not about using the strongest cleanser or the one with the longest ingredient list. It's about using a cleanser that balances the skin while still removing buildup. When the skin feels tight after cleansing, it's not clean, it's stressed. And stressed skin tends to produce more oil, cling to dead skin cells, and become reactive. That's the opposite of what you want before performing extractions or deep cleansing. A gentle, pH-balanced cleanser that leaves the skin comfortable sets you up for much better results. As you're preparing the skin, you should also be paying attention to its condition. Does it feel rough in certain areas? Do you notice extra congestion around the nose, chin, or forehead? Is there irritation or sensitivity that wasn't there before? This step is the perfect time to assess what kind of pressure or technique you'll need later, or whether you should skip extractions in certain spots that are inflamed. Preparation isn't just physical, it's observational. It helps you connect with your skin so you can treat it intelligently rather than mechanically. Taking your time with preparation also helps minimize damage. When people rush into extractions without proper prep, that's when you see the pinching, the bruising, the overly aggressive squeezing. But when the skin is softened and the pores are loosened, you barely need any pressure at all. The clog releases more easily, the skin stays calmer, you don't trigger unnecessary redness or trauma, and most importantly, you reduce the risk of scarring. Good preparation protects the skin while improving results. What's interesting is that people often assume preparation is optional, like a bonus step you can do if you have extra time. But in reality, this is the part that saves your skin from irritation, saves you from overworking your face, and saves you from struggling through the extraction process. It's the difference between fighting your pores and working with them. Proper preparation keeps everything smoother, safer, and more predictable. If you've ever wondered why some facials feel relaxing while others leave you red and irritated, it's usually because of how well the skin was prepared beforehand. When you take the time to remove buildup gently, soften the skin properly, apply warmth strategically, and assess what your skin needs in that moment, you're setting yourself up for success long before the extraction tool ever touches your face. So before you dive into the main part of the routine, remember that preparation is your way of telling your skin, hey, we're about to do something important. Let's make this as easy and effective as possible. And when you start the process that way, your skin responds beautifully. A well-prepared face is always the easiest one to transform. Once the skin has been properly prepared, once it's clean, softened, warmed, and ready, that's when the real deep cleansing begins. And this is the part a lot of people think they already know. But the technique matters far more than the products themselves. Deep cleansing isn't about using something harsh or scrubbing until your skin feels tight. It's about being intentional, precise, and gentle while still giving the pores the kind of attention they need to stay clear. When you approach this step thoughtfully, your skin rewards you by looking smoother, brighter, and far more balanced. A lot of people assume that deep cleansing is just washing your face a little harder, but the truth is, deep cleansing is about layers. It starts with the cleanser you choose and how long you spend actually working it into the skin. Most people wash their face for maybe 10 seconds before rinsing. That's not cleansing, that's barely a rinse. To really clean the skin, you want to massage your cleanser for at least 30 seconds to a full minute. When you do that, the movement helps break down oils, lift dead skin, and encourage the pores to loosen. This is where slow, circular motions matter. You want to feel like you're waking the skin up, not attacking it. As you move deeper into the cleansing process, focus on the areas that typically collect the most buildup. Everyone has those trouble zones: the sides of the nose, the corners of the mouth, the fold between the brows, the chin where you might lean your hand without realizing it. These areas hold onto oil more tightly, which means they also trap more dirt. Spending just a little extra time on these zones during cleansing prevents problems from building up later. This is one of the reasons estheticians always take their time in these areas. They know that prevention starts with technique, depending on your skin type. Exfoliation may also be part of your deep cleansing process. And when I say exfoliation, I don't mean those harsh, gritty scrubs that feel like sandpaper. Those can create tiny micro tears in the skin and lead to irritation you don't need. Instead, think of exfoliation as a way to assist the cleansing, not replace it. A gentle chemical exfoliant, even something mild like lactic acid or a low-strength salicylic acid, helps dissolve dead skin in a way that doesn't hurt the barrier. For those who prefer a physical exfoliant, choosing something very fine and using a light touch keeps things safe and effective. The goal is to help the skin shed what it no longer needs, not strip it raw. Deep cleansing also means being mindful of the temperature of the water you use. Hot water feels relaxing, but it can actually dehydrate the skin and trigger excess oil production. Lukewarm water is ideal because it helps loosen sebum without causing damage. It's all about balance, enough warmth to support the process without stressing the skin. Something people don't talk about enough is the importance of listening to your skin during this step. As you cleanse, you'll start noticing whether the skin feels smoother, whether the pores seem more relaxed, whether certain areas need a bit more attention. You should also notice when to stop. Over-cleansing is one of the fastest ways to irritate your barrier. The skin should feel clean, soft, and comfortable, not squeaky, tight, or stripped. If your skin feels like it needs to be drenched in moisturizer immediately after cleansing, that's a sign something in your routine is too harsh. Another big part of deep cleansing is consistency. This isn't something you do once in a while and expect long-term results. The skin thrives on routines that repeat over time. When you cleanse deeply and gently on a regular basis, your pores stop accumulating as much debris, your breakouts become less frequent, your texture evens out. And because the pores aren't chronically congested, your extractions become easier, fewer, and far safer. Deep cleansing is the maintenance step that keeps everything running smoothly. Technique is what makes the difference between skin that glows and skin that struggles. When you approach deep cleansing with intention, taking your time, respecting the skin barrier, understanding where buildup hides, and using the right motions, you create a foundation that supports everything that comes later in the routine. You make your treatments more effective, your extractions less aggressive, and your overall complexion far more predictable and resilient. This step is where your hands, your awareness, and your patience shape the future of your skin, and when you give your skin that level of care, it shows. Clean skin is cooperative skin, and cooperative skin is always the easiest to transform. When the skin has been deeply cleansed and properly prepared, that's when extractions can finally be done safely. And I always say this, extractions are not a race, they're not meant to be painful, and they're definitely not something you should approach with force. The goal isn't to squeeze as hard as you can. The goal is to guide what's already loosened inside the pore to come out with as little trauma as possible. When you approach extractions with patience and precision, you protect the skin while getting the results you want. One of the first things to understand is that not every clogged pore should be extracted. People get excited and want to clear everything at once, but your skin will tell you which ones are ready. If a blackhead is compacted and firm, or if a whitehead hasn't reached the surface, forcing it will only damage the surrounding tissue. That's when you get redness, swelling, marks, and the risk of scarring. A ready-to-extract clog usually has a softer texture, a visible opening, and releases with minimal pressure. You should never feel like you're fighting the skin. Clean hands and clean tools are non-negotiable. This is where people create problems for themselves without even realizing it. Using nails, unwashed fingers, or tools that aren't sanitized introduces bacteria directly into an already vulnerable area. And once bacteria gets inside, inflammation follows, and that can turn a simple extraction into a breakout that lasts far longer. If you're using a comedone extractor, wipe it down with alcohol before and after each use. If you're using your fingers, wrap them in clean tissue so the pressure is controlled and the skin is protected. The pressure itself matters just as much as the preparation. Extraction should use downward and inward pressure, almost like you're rolling the contents of the pore upward, not pressing straight down into the skin. Pressing directly downward only pushes the clog deeper, which can cause swelling or even rupture under the surface. Gentle, angled pressure encourages the buildup to move toward the opening instead of being forced sideways into the tissue. And if nothing comes out with light pressure, that's your signal to stop. The most successful extractions happen when the pore is ready, not when someone insists on making it happen. You also want to be mindful of the areas where extractions are safer and where they require more care. The nose can usually tolerate extractions well because the skin here is thicker, and blackheads tend to be more superficial. But the cheeks and temples require a lighter touch. The skin there is thinner, which means it bruises more easily. The area around the mouth can be sensitive and reactive, and the forehead, especially between the brows, often hides deeper clogs that won't come out without more softening over time. Knowing this helps you avoid treating all pores the same because they are not. A big part of doing extractions correctly is pacing yourself. You don't need to clear every pore in one sitting. In fact, it's better to space things out than to work aggressively in one session. When you give your skin a break, you're allowing it to calm down, heal, and strengthen before the next round. The long-term results are much better when you work with your skin slowly rather than pushing it to its limit. After each extraction, you should always apply a little pressure with a clean cotton pad or tissue to minimize any bleeding or oozing from the opening of the pore. This helps the skin settle. And if you see redness afterward, that's completely normal. It's a sign the area has been stimulated. But the redness should fade quickly if the extraction was done correctly. Extended redness or throbbing is usually a sign that too much pressure was applied or that the clog wasn't ready. One of the most important things to understand is that extractions aren't supposed to be painful. A little pressure? Sure. A little discomfort? Maybe. But genuine pain is your skin telling you something isn't right. When the pore is properly prepared and the skin is soft, extractions feel more like controlled pressure rather than sharp or stinging sensations. Pain means stop, reassess, and come back another time when the skin is more receptive. And perhaps the biggest takeaway is this. Extractions should help your skin, not harm it. Done correctly, they reduce congestion, smooth texture, prevent future breakouts, and make the skin look clearer and more refined. Done incorrectly, they can create long-lasting redness, discoloration, swelling, and even scarring. That's why technique matters. That's why patience matters. And that's why respecting the skin at every step makes all the difference. Extractions are a partnership between your technique and your skin's readiness. And when you honor both, your results speak for themselves. Once the extractions are done, the skin enters a very vulnerable moment. You've just encouraged clogged pores to release what they were holding, and even when everything is done gently and correctly, that area needs support. This is where post-extraction care becomes just as important as the preparation and the cleansing. If the prep opens the door and extractions clear the pathway, then post-extraction soothing is what closes everything back up and restores calm. And if you skip this part or treat it like an afterthought, you end up with redness, irritation, and a much slower recovery, even if your extraction technique was perfect. Right after extracting, the skin responds naturally with a little inflammation. That's normal. It's your body's way of saying, we've been touched, we've been pressured, let's repair. The goal here isn't to eliminate the swelling instantly, it's to guide the skin toward a calmer state so it can heal cleanly and without complications. That's why soothing ingredients become your best friends. Think about things like aloe, Centella asiatica, chamomile, niacinamide, ingredients that hydrate the skin without overwhelming it. They quiet things down, they reduce the redness, and they tell the skin, you're safe, you can relax. Cooling is another powerful way to calm freshly extracted skin. A cool compress, a chilled gel mask, or even a jade roller that's been sitting in the fridge can help reduce that lingering warmth in the skin. You don't want ice directly on the face, that can be too harsh, but gentle cooling helps constrict the blood vessels just enough to settle the skin and minimize prolonged redness. The goal is comfort, not shock. This is also the moment when you want to be thoughtful about what you skip. Harsh toners, strong actives, exfoliating acids, those have no place on freshly worked skin. Even if they're part of your regular routine, your skin isn't in the mood for them right now. After extractions, the pores are more exposed and the surface layer of the skin is more reactive. Applying strong products too soon can sting, cause peeling, or create sensitivity that lasts for days. So keep it simple, hydrate, soothe, replenish. A gentle hydrating toner or essence can work beautifully here because it adds water back into the skin without weight. When the skin is hydrated, it stretches and heals more comfortably. It doesn't feel tight, it doesn't feel overheated, and when the hydration sinks in properly, your moisturizer can sit on top like a protective cushion rather than struggling to absorb into stressed skin. Speaking of moisturizers, choosing the right one after extractions makes a huge difference. You want something lightweight but supportive, something that reinforces the barrier without clogging the pores you just spent time clearing. Gel creams or thin lotions work incredibly well because they hydrate, soothe, and seal in moisture without heavy oils. The skin should feel comforted, not smothered. This is also the stage where a calming mask can elevate your results. Clay masks are not the right choice here. They're too drying and too strong for freshly extracted skin. But a hydrating or cooling mask, that can feel like heaven. It brings down redness, restores moisture, and helps the skin bounce back quickly. Think of it like giving your face a soft landing after all the work you've just done. Another important part of post-extraction care is respecting the healing process. This means no touching the face, no picking at spots that may still look raised, and no poking at areas that feel slightly tender. The pores need time to close naturally, and every time you touch the skin, you risk introducing bacteria or disrupting the healing you've already set in motion. And yes, it can be tempting to go back and press on something that looks like it might have more to give, but trust me, it's better to walk away and come back another day when the skin is ready again. If your extraction session happens during the daytime, sun protection becomes non-negotiable. Freshly treated skin reacts more easily to UV rays, which means post-inflammatory darkening can develop faster. A broad spectrum sunscreen keeps the skin even-toned and prevents any areas of redness from turning into long-lasting pigmentation. And if your skin is feeling especially sensitive, choose a mineral sunscreen for the next day or two. They tend to be gentler on freshly treated skin. The beauty of good post-extraction care is that it enhances every benefit you worked hard to achieve. It helps the skin recover faster, keeps irritation low, supports the barrier, and ensures that the results look clean, refined, and healthy rather than red or stressed. When you give your skin the right kind of attention after extractions, it responds with clarity, smoothness, and that fresh, just treated glow. A well-soothed face heals beautifully, and beautifully healed skin is what reveals the true impact of your routine. After the skin has been cleansed, prepared, treated, and soothed, the final piece of the puzzle is what keeps those results going. Clear skin doesn't come from one good facial or one great round of extractions. It comes from the habits you build afterward. And this is the part people underestimate the most. They assume the routine ends when the mask comes off or when the redness fades, but the truth is the long-term maintenance you practice is what determines whether your skin stays clear or slips right back into congestion. Think of this stage as the ongoing conversation you have with your skin, where consistency becomes your strongest tool. The first and most important part of maintaining clarity is keeping up with a regular cleansing routine. Deep cleansing isn't something you do once a month and hope it solves everything. It's a rhythm you create. When you cleanse properly, every night you're preventing oil, sweat, makeup, and environmental buildup from settling deep into the pores. That means fewer blockages, fewer breakouts, and fewer extractions needed later. And this doesn't mean scrubbing harder. It means being thorough and intentional every time you wash your face. Exfoliation also plays a major role in maintenance. Not the harsh, gritty scrubs that scratch the skin, but gentle chemical exfoliants that help the skin shed naturally. Using these once or twice a week keeps the surface smooth and prevents dead skin cells from collecting and trapping oil underneath. This makes your pores stay clearer and your extractions easier the next time you do them. But the key with exfoliation is balance. Too much weakens the barrier, too little allows buildup to take over. Finding that middle ground is what keeps the skin happy. Hydration is another surprisingly important part of maintaining clear skin. A lot of people think that if they have oily or acne-prone skin, they should avoid moisturizing, but that couldn't be further from the truth. When the skin is dehydrated, it overcompensates by producing more oil, which leads to congestion. Keeping the skin hydrated helps regulate oil production, supports healing, and strengthens the barrier so the skin can protect itself. Lightweight, non-comedogenic moisturizers work beautifully for this, especially when used consistently. Sun protection is one of the biggest long-term factors in keeping the skin clear and even. UV exposure doesn't just cause sunburn, it makes pores look more noticeable, slows down healing, and deepens any redness or dark spots left behind from extractions. Wearing sunscreen daily doesn't just prevent aging, it prevents the marks from extractions from turning into long-lasting pigmentation. It keeps your skin tone even and prevents irritation from becoming hyperpigmentation. And if you've just done extractions, protecting your skin from the sun is essential for the next few days especially. Consistency isn't just about products. It's also about understanding your skin's patterns. Every face has its habits. Some people get congestion around the nose, others along the jawline, some on the cheeks or forehead. When you start paying attention to where your skin tends to clog, you can adjust your routine. Maybe that area needs a little more exfoliation, or maybe it needs more hydration. Maybe it needs a gentler approach. When you understand your skin's behavior, you stay ahead of problems before they start. Lifestyle plays a bigger role here than most people want to admit. Stress, sleep, and hydration levels all affect how your skin behaves. When you're stressed, your body produces more oil. When you're dehydrated, your skin struggles to renew itself. When you're not sleeping well, the repair cycle gets interrupted. Taking care of your skin means taking care of the rest of you too. Even small changes, more water, a little more sleep, moments of relaxation, show up on your face. Another important part of long-term maintenance is knowing when to step back. If your skin feels irritated, tight, or overworked, it's telling you it needs a break. Pushing harder doesn't make the skin clearer, it makes it more reactive. Giving your skin time to recover keeps your barrier strong, and a strong barrier means fewer breakouts, less congestion, and healthier texture. Maintenance also means viewing extractions as an occasional tool, not a daily habit. You don't need to go after every clogged pore the moment you see it. When your routine is consistent, many of those clogs never develop into true blockages. And when they do, you're able to treat them gently because the skin is healthy and prepared. Clear skin is created through rhythm, not intensity. It's the little things you do every day, the way you cleanse, the way you hydrate, the way you protect, that build a complexion that stays clear long after the facial is over. Consistency is what turns good skin days into a good skin life.